Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all across this lovely little globe of ours. And welcome back to our cultural series, Culture Shock, where today we'll be delving into the happenings around the Japanese festival of Hanami. So what exactly is Hanami? Well, to perhaps give you a clue, Hanami, roughly translated into English, means flower viewing. So as you've probably already guessed, Hanami is the official name for what is more commonly known as cherry blossom season in Japan. And despite becoming popular on the tourist scene within the past few years, cherry blossom season, or Hanami, has actually been celebrated for a lot longer, with some estimates putting the festival's origin as far back as the Nara period of Japan's history in the 8th century AD. This original festival of flower viewing, however, concerned not cherry blossoms but instead plum blossoms, or as they are known in Japan, ume. By the Heian period of Japan's history, however, between the 8th century AD and the 12th century AD, Hanami became more synonymous with cherry blossoms, or as they are known in Japan, sakura. Furthermore, it was during this time that the emperors of Japan adopted the custom of having garden parties during this time period. The focal point of these garden parties was beneath the blossoming sakura trees at the imperial court in Kyoto, of which was the Japanese capital during this time. The Hanami parties within the imperial court at Kyoto were famous for their feasts and their provision of sake, or rice wine, and also involved the writing and composing of poetry with the central theme of the cherry blossoms themselves, which appeared to serve as a metaphor in these poems for life itself, and particularly how life could be beautiful, yet simultaneously fleeting, which, to be honest, it sort of fits. But parties such as these were, of course, at first limited to simply the elites and nobility within the upper classes of Japanese society, because anybody else just isn't allowed to have any fun, apparently. Luckily though, a change of circumstance occurred by the Edo period, by the time of which these customs had spread to samurai society, and then finally to that of the common people. Towards the modern era, however, focus has shifted somewhat away from just flower viewing and more towards the feasts and sake that are provided at Hanami parties, because priorities. And there is even a proverb that goes with this, that of Hana yori dango, which roughly translated into English means dumplings before flowers. To be honest though, when you have beautiful flowers, beautiful scenery, amazing food and sake, what more could you want? And so that brings us on more to the modern era and how Hanami happens every year in Japan today. So the first thing to point out about the cherry blossom season is that the blossoms do not come into bloom at the same time all over Japan all at once. Instead, the blooms appear to move in a south to north direction, with the first blooms appearing as early as March in the southernmost Japanese prefecture of Okinawa, then moving steadily north over the course of the spring until the blooms reach Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost prefecture, around the time of early May. So from south to north, it appears then that Hanami actually doesn't last very long. Yet this festival holds such a degree of importance in Japan that it even has its own segment as part of Japan's weather forecast, predicting when and where you'll see the most blossoms blooming in each part of Japan across the season. So whilst here in the UK we have the pollen count, Japan, it appears, has the blossom count. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, Japan wins. Every time. It's common that you'll often see large groups of people holding feasts and picnics beneath the beautiful shelter of both sakura and ume trees across Japan. In the cities, however, Tokyo in particular, it is sometimes the case that Hanami parties and celebrations will go on through the afternoon and long into the night, and these parties held during the night have their own name, Yozakura, or Night Sakura. Some of these Yozakura parties often involve the hanging of paper lanterns in the sakura trees themselves, therefore creating an even more beautiful area to enjoy foods that are often eaten around this time of year, such as dango or bento. And speaking of food, during this time in Japan, you'll often see some forms of processed food such as Kit Kats getting in on the celebrations of Hanami, featuring their own limited edition sakura and sakura sake flavoured foods. And I'm speaking from personal experience of these are pretty damn good. And it seems that this festival has taken on followers and gained a popularity even outside of Japan, with Hanami style celebrations taking place in the Philippines, Korea, China, Taiwan, and even as far away as the United States, Italy, Sweden and Finland, to name just a few countries that enjoy this festival and time of year alongside Japan. So there you have it, the history and cultural happenings of the Hanami Festival or Cherry Blossom Festival. So if you enjoyed this video, perhaps consider leaving a like and subscribe for more content based on the cultural happenings of our world, such as this one. I'm Lewis of the Grand Portfolio. To arigatou gozaimasu.